revoir. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in a world with so much potential to be great, amidst the backdrop of many terrible things and opportunities to take advantage of, you have this overriding Sith Lord voice of naysayers and haters telling you, you can't do it, it's not worth it. And these things indirectly gaslight you, an individual trying to rise into power and trying to make change, into thinking that you might not even want it. I don't want it. Jon Snow kind of bullshit. Or even you don't deserve it because only those people who are rich or those people who have connections or those people who are really good have a capacity to go and be there. This perpetuates a crab mentality either through ignorance or the assumption of malevolence that actually sets up potential individuals for failure in these leadership positions and dissuades particular individuals from taking on those particular roles. But a few key points of framing in terms of what we think are relevant to the round. What does this intently pursuing a position of power even look like? This can look like many different things, right? Someone spending a lot of time in order to be a debate captain of their society or running for student government, or even something as insane and crazy as wanting to be the next president of the United States, or someone with a valiant attempt to try and overthrow a dictatorial or authoritarian regime. Any position of power, no matter how big or how small, is a dream that people have, which people should be able to pursue and not be crushed by the dissent of people who just assume that these things are particularly harmful when they villainize it. What do we mean by villainize, right? Whatever definition of being a dick, right? Basically saying that you can't do it, you don't deserve it, you're not good enough, your morals will get absolutely screwed over as though you're gonna automatically become the next Sith Lord. All of that shebang, right? And we think that the particular nuance here is on the perception. Because all of these reputational nuances are outside looking in, and people don't know your story, they don't know truly what your motivations are, and all of these things do is that they create a particularly harmful and toxic stigma when they see from the outside looking at you, and they immediately assume certain motivations. They assume certain causality, and they say, in the past, we had this shitty guy for president, this bad person, you might be like him, so we're skeptical about that. Be careful, it's going to eat you and screw you over. The problem of villainizing is that even though these things are true or these things could happen, it's just overly pessimistic and sets up an individual for failure at a point in which that person hasn't even tried yet. What are the arguments we're going to make coming from opening government? We are going to tell you that this particular villainization is harmful, and we think that retroactively speaking, there's likelihood that you wouldn't get all of the awesome things that we have in society right now, such as a democracy, such as underdog stories, such as outliers even happening and coming to fruition, had there not been people who were propped up for success to be able to reach their particular dreams and goals. The counterfactual is very clear. Success stories would be less likely to happen at the point in which you villainize it, and we think that moving forward, these things are just something we're not willing to take. Go ahead, sure. Amen, yeah.
So, do you think that this narrative is the only reason that people chase power?
We think that there are many reasons in terms of why people choose power, but the harm in this particular narrative is that you make that particular judgment. Even if this thing is true, for instance, or even if this thing is something proven to be probabilistic, the fact that it's looked at through the lens of like a red flag when you wear rose-tinted glasses is particularly the harm that we actually think happens. Because A, Even if it's unlikely, you still need to give someone the benefit of the doubt, which is precisely why in the Philippines it's so unfortunate that everyone is like, fuck you, Bongbong Marcos, you're an asshole, you are the son of a dictator, and sure, he's not a perfect individual, but it already sets up an entire precedent of assumptions to be made about it, which make it harder for that individual to have a rally cause behind him, which is an important nuance for any kind of leadership, whether you're the head of a country or the head of a debate society. Secondly, it makes it more difficult to actually mobilize resources at the point in which you're so villainized. It leaves these people up to their own volition, and the very people who are motivated by it, who might not be as economically enfranchised, are less able to get donors, less able to get support from voters and all of those things when they aren't able to coalesce together. We think that the counterfactual is very simple. Had we not villainized these particular individuals pursuing power, we wouldn't have had all those epic stories of people being able to topple dictatorial regimes and authoritarian regimes had people assumed that the very people trying to get to that slot might end up like those guys. The only reason we had hope and the only reason we were able to stand up to people who were bad and had malintent was when we actually believed in the capacity of the very people trying to get there. There's a huge assumption that because in status quo, historically there might have been someone poor here or someone bad, and as a consequence, the people trying to rise up to that particular role should be villainized because they then think, you might be just like them, heck, maybe even worse, so here are we to villainize you from going on to that power. We don't think that absolute power corrupts absolutely, all that Sith Lord shit. We think that actually happens when you drink your own Kool-Aid and drink your own capacities, where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and vicious cycle to the bottom that leave people poor and disenfranchised and leave the very people trying to make a change and trying to leave a mark less likely to be able to get there and have a chance at changing something because people from the outside already made an assumption of who they are and what they stand for. And so for all of these reasons, we think the motion has to fall. Thank you.